Hello, welcome everybody. Welcome to part 2 of CSEC Math Prep. And we have 10 questions. You know that already from the previous video. And what we have covered so far is computation, number theory, and consumer arithmetic. And for this video, we'll be covering 5 questions in algebra, right? From the years listed there. All right, so we're not wasting any time. We're moving on to this question here. It's from 2009, right? And naturally, I'm going to have my answer pad here along with clear workings. All right, so let's go. So for this question here, 2 marks, and they're asking us to factorize this expression here. This expression here is factorizing by grouping. And the process, the idea of factorizing is to take out what is common, right? So the process is to factorize both sides of this expression here. So we're looking for what is common to the first 2 terms. We have a that is common. We have a in 2ax and 3ay. We'll write that to the side. And then what's left is 2x plus 3y. And how we ascertain this part? After you take out what is common, right? You just cancel the 2ax by the common thing, which is the a right here. So a cancel this a, leaving 2x. And a cancel the a right here, leaving the 3y. And then over to the other side, what's common is minus b. In case we're gonna get confused with the minus sign, right? You see, whatever is in the middle, whatever side is in the middle of the expression, it normally comes back here, right? Not necessarily for the last one, however. So b is common. It's in both of these terms. So we cancel this b using this one, leaving 2x, and we cancel b that one, leaving 3y. All right, so rule of thumb, when factorizing by grouping, these brackets, after we take out the common thing, are going to be the same at all times, right? So the plus that we have here will naturally come back over here. Don't think about the fact that the minus is here, right? Just whatever is in the first bracket comes back in the second. Now, we can prove that this is okay now by just expanding this bracket here. So if you multiply minus b times 2x, we'll get back the minus 2bx, and minus b times 3y. Naturally, we'll give it minus 3by. So it's fine. All right, so going beyond this, the elements that are outside the brackets, right? The a and the minus b. We put them in one bracket. And then because both of these elements now multiply in the same bracket, we put back one of these brackets beside that. And that's your product. When you factorize this expression here by grouping, a minus b, 2x plus 3y. That for our first 2 marks. Still on factorizing, and this second question is asking us to factorize that expression there, 5x squared minus 20. And this now is a special type of factorizing. Initially, it's just regular HCF factorizing where we take out what's common, right? In terms of number. What's common to 5x squared and 20 is 4. It's 5, sorry. 5, cancel the 5 here. Will leave us with x squared, and 5 into 20 goes 4. We're just taking out the common thing and dividing both terms by the common thing. Right, now for this one, as I said, it's a special case. The remainder here in the bracket, x squared minus 4, right? It's a factorizing difference of squares. Now, x squared and 4 are square numbers, meaning if you multiply and the number x by itself, we get x squared, and if you multiply 2 by itself, we get 4. So it can be further factorized, right? By saying x minus 2 and x plus 2. These brackets, when multiplied, will give us x squared minus 4. So that's a special type. If this was a class situation, of course, I'll give you another example. Because I want to go through these, I'll just... All right, so that's that. The other type of factor, 2 marks, the other type of factorizing that we have here is quadratic factorizing. When you see an expression with a square term, another term with what it is now, 4x, that's to the first degree, and the constant, quadratic. For the grouping factorizing, we normally have 4 terms. For 3 terms, normally it's quadratic. All right, so you can use that as something to just remind yourself how they are. The first step when solving this one now is to write down the coefficients for these 3 terms, right? Coefficient meaning the number that is multiplying the variable. So we have 3 as the coefficient here, we have 4 as the coefficient here, and then we use by the constant. Now this is supposed to be minus 15, not minus 5. My error right there, right? So minus 15, let's keep that in mind, you know. So this minus 15 here should be right here. All right, so the next step after that now is to write down what AC is. AC is minus 45. That's multiplying the A value by the C value. We're looking for two factors of 45. When we add them, we get what the B term is, which is 4. All right, so the two numbers, you have 3 times 15, you have 1 times 45, but of the pairs, minus 5 times 9 is the appropriate pair. So if we multiply minus 5 times 9, we will get this minus 45. But when we add these numbers, minus 5 plus 9, we end up with 4. So what we're going to do then is split the middle term using those two factors. So the 9x minus 5x will replace the 4x in this term. And then we factorize by grouping now. So what's common to the first 2 terms? We have 3 as the number and x as the variable. So it's 3x that's common. And then what's the procedure again? We divide both terms by the common thing. So 3 will cancel 3 here, and x will cancel one of these, leaving only x, and 3 will cancel the 9 here, and x will cancel the x there. So we end up with x plus 3. And then we're moving to the other side. What is common? Remember, use this negative here in the middle. And what's common here is there are no variable common, but there's a number common, minus 5. Then minus 5 cancel this minus 5, leaving x, and minus 5 into 15 goes 3. What's in the first bracket come back in the second, remember. And then the elements on the outside, right? 3 and the minus 5. And then put back one of these common brackets beside it. And that's 2 marks. And that's it for the factorizing question for this year, right? Questions. So we have grouping, difference of squares where part is HCF, and then we have quadratic. Beyond this, we'll be seeing other questions like these in this this video. So that's it for that. And let's move along to the other section where it is a simultaneous equation, right? Simultaneous equation meaning we're solving these 2 equations at the same time. All right, so let's go for this simultaneous equation here. 1 packet of biscuits costs X dollars and 1 cup of ice cream, Y dollars, right? The situation is that now 1 packet of biscuits and 2 cups of ice cream costs $8, right? 1x plus 2y equals 8. And then that's one of our equations. Now the other, while 3 packets of biscuits, right, and 1 cup of ice cream cost $9. These are our equations generated from a situation there for 2 marks. Good. Now we're going to be solving this equation here. That is B part 2. Find the cost of 1 packet of biscuits, which is X, and 1 cup of ice cream, Y. All right, when solving simultaneous equation, we can use substitution or elimination, right? But We're going to be using elimination in this situation, and by virtue of that method, we'll either eliminate x or eliminate y. All right, I'm going to be eliminating y in this case, right? So we're using the coefficients here. The 2 that multiplies the y here, we'll use it to multiply the bottom equation. And the 1 that's multiplying the y here, we'll be using it to multiply the top equation. All right, so let's go. We'll be generating another pair of equations. 1 multiply the top equation there will give us the same thing, right? It will not change. 1 multiply that bottom equation there by 2, we'll have 6x plus 2y equal 18, right? So doubling everything in that bottom equation there. And what you're going to notice now is that the coefficients for the y are the same. So 2y is same as 2y here. So we can eliminate this one now by subtracting the equations, the bottom one from the top one. That's how the process of elimination is done with simultaneous equation, right? So 6x from x minus 5x, 2y from 2y, 0, and 18 from 8 will give us minus 10. And on the other side here, we're going to be working that out. So we're dividing both sides by minus 5, so we can have x all by itself. So when this minus 5 cancel minus 5, then we have minus 10 divided by minus 5. We'll have x is equal to 2. So what we have just done is to eliminate y so we can ascertain a value for x, which is 2. And now what we're going to do is substitute 2 into one of the equations that we have here. There are 4 equations there. But the second one has y all by itself here. So we're going to use the second equation. All right, so the second equation says 3x plus y equal 9. So we're going to substitute x value in the x place right here, which is 2. 3 times 2 is 6. And what we're going to do is subtract 6 from the 9. And then y is equal to 3. And that's the end of it for 4 marks. All that we have done so far, the factorizing plus this simultaneous equation here, values 12 marks, right? All right, so for this video, I have the question here blank, right? And just to say, why not try it yourself? Try them on your own to see if you remember the concepts. If you can, then don't worry about your exam. If it does appear there, you will know what to do, right? All right, so very good. So that's the first one, and we have 4 more to go. All right, so for this one, has 4 parts. And firstly, we are doing this substitution question here now. So when we're doing substitution, the values for the unknowns are given. A equal to, B is minus 1, and C is 3. And for part 1, we're putting in the values in their places. So outside the bracket, we notice that A is there and the value of A is 2. And inside we have B minus 1 plus 3. If we should work what's in the bracket first, we just subtract minus 1 from 3, giving us 2 inside the bracket. So our answer is 4 for 1 mark. All right, very good. For the other one, a lot of variables it seems over there, but all you need to do first is to put in the values in their places before you start calculating anything. So B is minus 1, right? So minus 1 in this place, squared. Then behind, we have minus 2AC, and these are multiplying each other. So it's 2 times A times the value for C, which is 3. And then the sum of all 3 numbers at the bottom there. So we're just putting them in their places. When we square a negative number, it means a negative 1 times a negative 1, which is going to be a positive 1. So it's 4 times a positive 1, that's going to give us 4. And then what we're going to have is 2 times 2, which is 4 times 3, which is 12. And that's the top. So 4 times 1 is 4. And 2 times 2 times 3 is 12. All right, if at the bottom here, if I should add the positive numbers, I'll have 2 plus 3 is 5. Then when I take 1 from that, I end up with 4. And then when we take 12 from 4, we end up with minus 8. When we divide that by 4, our answer is minus 2 for 2 marks. Substitution, that was easy. All right, so moving on to part B. And what is requiring here is for us to change the following statements to algebraic expressions, right? 4 times the sum of x and y. All right, the sum of x and y, there are two expressions. So what we're going to have is 4 multiplied by the sum of x and y, right? That's it. Look at it carefully. And for the other one, 16 larger than the product of a and b. 6 is a number that is larger than 5, right? By 1. But the product of a and b means you're multiplying them, and then we have 16 larger. All right, that's it. 2 marks. See, we have 6 marks remaining for this question. And what we have here now is an equation. To solve an equation, the aim is to have our variable on one side all by itself, right? So in this case, our first step, of course, is to expand the bracket that is on the right by multiplying both things inside by what is outside. So 2 times 3x, as we have it there, will give us 6x. And 2 times 1 is 2. So we have expanded this bracket. And our next aim is to put the variables together, right? We could group them on the left side or on the right. But if we want to, in the easiest way, right, find the value for the unknown, I would group the x's on the right side in this case. If we group them on the left side, we're going to end up with the variables being negative, all right? So we leave the 15 and the positive 2 that is to the right. We will subtract it on the left from the 15. And the 4x that is subtracting on the left, we will add on the right. So 2 from 15 will give us 13. And when we add 6x plus 4x, we'll get 10. Of course, we want x all by itself. So we divide both sides by 10. The 10 cancel this 10, we're leaving us with x is 13 over 10. Some people like to divide the 13 by 10 and write the answer in decimal form, but you really don't have to. All right, so 2 marks for solving that equation. And then, of course, we have done factorizing in the previous question, and here we go again. So let's go. So the expression is 6x squared b cubed plus 12a to the 4th power b. Taking out what's common, starting with the numbers. To 6 and 12, a common number factor is 6. To a squared and a to the 4th, the smaller one, a squared, a common factor. To b cubed and b itself, the smaller one, b, common factor. All right, I have these in steps now in terms of how we determine what is left in the bracket there. Divide these terms now, the 6a squared, b cubed, by the common thing that we have here. So 6 will cancel 6, a squared cancel a squared, and the 1b that's at the bottom here will cancel one of these b at the top there. B is at the top there. So leaving us with b squared. And then when we cancel the 12a4b by 6a squared b, or common, then 6 into 12 goes 2 times. B's at the end will cancel each other. And a squared at the bottom there will cancel 2 of the a's multiplying at the top up there. So you leave a to the 2nd power. So our answer is b squared plus 2a to the second power. After we cancel the common thing into these expressions there. That's it. That's it for that one, for our 2 marks. And then of course we have here the quadratic factorizing. We've done one such before. And our first step was to write down the coefficients of the terms. So it's 2, 9, and minus 5, right? And then the next step was to write down AC. Though the A term is 2 times 5, it's minus 10. We need two factors. Two factors of AC. When we add them, we end up with 9. And those are 1 and 10. When the AC is negative, one of the factors is always negative. In this case, the 1 is negative. So when we're combining them, when we take 1 from 10, we end up with 9. So what do we do with those factors? We split the middle term. We split the middle term in 2 so that we can factorize by what again? By grouping. All right, so what's common to the first 2 terms, starting with number, is 2. And m is also common, so it's 2m. So we cancel 2m squared by 2m, and it will leave us with m plus 5. So 2 into 10 goes 5, and m cancel m. And of course, the middle sign there is this minus. And what's common is 1. There's no other number that's common and no variable, so we have to put a 1 here. And then, naturally, m plus 5 will go back here. Let's not even think about that part. So here we go now. The elements on the outside, so it's 2m minus 1 and m plus 5. And that's it. 2 marks. Remember, the question is blank here, so you can just ignore the answers that you have there and then try them on your own. Practice makes perfect. All right, so on to the other question. And from here on, you will notice almost every other question will have some similarity to previous questions, which is very good for us, right? The more we practice, the better we are at this. All right, this one is algebraic fractions now, right? And if you know to do regular fractions, you're not going to have much problem with this. The same concept, right? It holds true that when adding fractions, we need what? An LCM. So 3, 4, 12 is the LCM, right? So we want to make equivalent fractions here. So 3 into 12 goes 4 times. What we need to do is multiply the top number there by 4. All right, so 4 times x is 4x. Sorry. And 4 times 2 is minus 8. We can write what we're going to multiply the second side by before we even continue on there at the bottom. So 4 into 12, 3 times, and we're going to multiply 3 by that numerator there. So let us expand this bracket. 4 times x is 4x, and 4 times 2 is minus 8. 3 times x is 3x, and 3 times 1 is 3. Without finding the denominator here, some people, what they would have done is multiplied 3 by the numerator over here and 4 by the numerator over here, and then 3 by 4, giving us the same denominator. It's just another way to approach it, but it will give our answer nonetheless. If we put in the like terms together, 4x plus 3x, those will give us 7x. And if we take 8 from 3, we have a minus 5. So our answer is 7x minus 5 divided by 12. Nothing here to be simplified. So our 3 marks awarded. All right, on to the other question. Binary operation, right? This one, it doesn't matter how the questions seem, right? Even without somebody telling you you can almost figure this out, right? Now y'all are smart. What we have here is A asterisk B, right? All right, it speaks to this operation over here. All of this combining. A plus B squared minus 2AB. All right, what we're looking for, right, is what corresponds to these variables. So A asterisk B, if we have 3 asterisk 4, then the A corresponds to the 3 and the B corresponding to the 4. So in this expression here, everywhere you see the A value, you put in 3 and B 4. So we end up with 3 plus 4 squared minus 2 times 3 times 4. All right? 3 plus 4 is 7 squared. And then 2 times 3 times 4 will give us 24. All right. Simplify further. 7 squared, 49 minus 24. And then our answer is 25. 2 marks. Easily done. And then, of course, we are much familiar with factorizing from the 2 previous questions, right? So what we're going to do now is to find the common factor here, right? Starting with the variable here at the front because there are no numbers in this case, coefficient. So x is common, right? And y is also common. So we have xy. So we're dividing both these terms now by x and by y. So x, we cancel x there, and the y at the bottom, we cancel one of those at the top, leaving us with y squared, right? And then for the other term, now we divide it by the common thing as well. So x will cancel one of those at the top, leaving us with just the x, right? So it's xy, x squared plus xy, y squared plus x. And that's it for our 2 marks there. And then the other, factorizing by grouping, whoa, pushing ahead there. We're factorizing by grouping, and to the first 2 terms, for the first 2 terms, the common number that we have there is 2 and variable h. So we're just dividing those first 2 terms by 2h will leave m, and 2h into this expression will leave us with n. In the negative, what's common over here? We have 3 and k. And we're dividing these 2 terms now by 3k. And we have this again, as with the first bracket, m minus n. The elements on the outside were in one bracket, right? 2h minus 3k and m minus n. And that's it for our 2 marks there, factorizing by grouping. All right, the question is yours. Oh, we have another part here, right? Yes, let's do this part. All right, so here we have it. The table shows corresponding values of variables x and y, where y varies directly as x. All right, this is direct variation. How it works. All right, we have some students, we call them test-wise students. Some people can actually figure this out without any, formal ways of working this out. So we have x and y in our table here, right? And the x value will map to the y value 12. All right, and the 5 will map to a. All right, you see the x value there maps to 12. We can see that what converts 2 to 12 is 6 if we multiply them, right? So 2 maps to 12. If that's the case, then 5 would map to 30, right? It's not the way I'm recommending, just saying. From eyeing it, right, we can see that. All right, now there's a formula for direct variation. It's y equal kx, right? Y equal kx. So there is a constant that will multiply the x to give us the y value. We're saying it's 6, but let's work with the formula. For indirect variation, however, it's not applied in this question, but let me just say it will be y equal k over x, right? K over x. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to use y equal kx, the direct variation, right? And we're going to use this complete ratio here with the formula. So the y value is 12 and the x value is 2. The k value there, when we divide both sides by 2, we end up with k equaling 6, right? Just as we assumed initially. So k is equal to 6. So if that's the case, then our initial assumption that 5 would map by the 6 to 30 holds. All right, so y then, which is the a value, right? It will be 5 multiplied by 6 if we're using the same formula here. Y value, which is a, is k, which is 6 here, constant, times the 5. And that was give us a 30 for a. All right, then we have b, and we have the y value given as 48. And what we're going to do is use the same formula, y equal kx, but this time we're looking for the b value, which is the x, right? So what we're going to do is insert what we do have. So we know that y is 48, and we know that k is 6, and we want to find the x term here where the b is. So we just divide both sides by 6, and 6 into 48 goes 8 times. That's it for the other 3 marks. Direct variation. Take a good look at it. Run it through again. The idea is to find the k value first, and then with that and the formula, we can find any other value. All right, good. Actually, I'm going to encourage you to try this on your own to let the concept stick. All right, moving on to another question coming down. And naturally, we have seen this question before, right? Binary operation. So what's happening here is we have a asterisk b, and of course, 4 asterisk 8. A corresponds to 4, b to 8. So we have 4b multiplied by 8, and then the b value is 8. So that one goes at the top, divide by 4. 4, 8 is 32, and 4 into 8 goes 2 times. And when you subtract 2 from 32, our answer there is 30. Good. And then now, the second part here, we have 2 asterisk 4 asterisk 8. If we are observant, right, we recognize that the 4 asterisk 8 is here. And we have already found a value for that, which is 30. So this is basically 2 asterisk 30. We have a value for this expression here from part 1. So what we're going to do then is use that same formula, AB, which is 2 times 30 in this case, right? And then the B value, which is 30, divided by 2. The 230 is 60, and 2 into 30 goes 15. And our answer now is 45 for our 4 marks. That, very good, going well. We did an algebraic fraction before, but it was adding, right? But this time it's multiplication of algebraic fractions. And how we approach this question is keep, change, and flip. That's what many people know it as when working with division of fractions. All right, so what we're having here is 5p over 3q. And what we're going to do is we're going to change the sign to multiplication and reciprocate the fraction on the right. And when we do that, all we need to do is cancel what can be canceled. We're not finding any LCM in this situation here, right? So we have q canceling that q there. We have p canceling one of these, right? Leaving only one p, or p to the first power, sorry. And then there's nothing else to be canceled, so we multiply across. So 5 divided by 12p is our answer, right? Quite easily done. For 2 marks. And then we have already seen an example of a simultaneous equation. And here we go for this one. All right, so stadium has 2 sections, A and B. Tickets for section A, tickets for section B. So Joanna paid $105, right? For 5 section A tickets and 3 section B tickets. First equation. And Raya paid $63 now for 4 section A tickets and only 1 section B ticket. There are our equations. Remember, our intention is to eliminate one of these variables, so A or B. I'm going to eliminate B again. So the 1B that's here, I'm going to multiply the top equation by 1. And the 3B at the top, I'm going to multiply it by 3. It will not change, the 1 will not change the top equation when you multiply it. But the 3, however, will triple the bottom equation. So 4 times 3 is 12, 3 times B is 3B, and 3 times 63 is 189. What we're going to do again is subtract the bottom equation from the top equation. Remember that from our previous simultaneous equation? So 12a from 5, right, will leave us minus 7a. 3b from 3b, 0. 189 from 105, 84. And when we divide both sides by minus 7, we end up with a being equal to 12. The same way as it was before. And what we're going to do now to find a value for b is to substitute a into the second equation there. It's very much similar to the question that we got. All right, so 4 times 12 is 48, and we're going to do is subtract 48 from 63, and b is equal to 15 for 5 marks. Students, if you get questions like these on the exam, please do your best to get it correctly. All right, so again, I'm going to encourage you, try them on your own to let the concept stick. All right, so moving on to another question, and this question here, right, is something that we are familiar with. It is substitution. Grab our answer pad here and let's go. So A is minus 1, B is 2, and we're seeing where that C value there is minus 3. So if we take 1 from 2 here, we end up with a minus 1. And then when we have minus 1, minus 3, we have, oh no, when we take the 1 from the 2, we're not going to end up with minus 1. What we'll have is 1, right? All right, it's so happened that I should have had a clear working note right here. So 1 from this will give us 1, and then 3 from 1 will end up with minus 2. Right, my bad. So minus 2 is our answer there. All right, 1 mark for that one. And then the other part, now we have b squared minus, and everybody be careful of this part now. C value is minus 3. It is different from the minus that is on the minus 3, or the minus that's before. So its situation has to look like this. When you square minus 3 in the bracket there, we're going to end up with 9. And then the minus that's in the question originally, right, will be here. That minus there is still here. So our answer is minus 5 for another 1 mark. Very good. All right, we have a situation where we have to write these now into algebraic expressions. And the first one says 7 times the sum of x and y. All right, all too familiar. And then the other one said the product of 2 consecutive numbers, right? 5 multiplied by 5 plus 1 is an example of product of 2 consecutive numbers. 5 times 5 plus 1. So in this case, they say y the smaller number. That means the larger number must be y plus 1, right? And so our answer, we can write it as y times y plus 1. The product of the two numbers right there. 1 mark. All right, for this simultaneous question that comes next, this one is unlike the others that we have done. We have two different signs in the middle of the equations. All right, so it will take a different approach. All right, so we're intending to solve this simultaneously. We're going to eliminate the y variable. So we're going to use the 2 in the second equation to multiply the equation at the top, and the 1 to multiply the bottom equation for the coefficient for the y. When we do that, we're going to double the top equation, ending up with 4x plus 2y equal 14, and the bottom equation remains the same. Because these signs are different now for the y, we're going to be adding the equations this time. That's the way the y is going to be eliminated. So 4 plus x is 5x, and 14 plus 1 is 15. When we divide both sides by 5, we end up with that x being 3. And we have one line coming in before it's time right there, right? So x equals 3, and what we're going to do is substitute 3 into the top equation where y is by itself. So 2 times 3 is 6. And when we subtract that 6 from the 7, we have y equals 1. And that's the solution for our simultaneous equation. 3 marks. All right. Moving on to these 3 factorization questions here. Now, this one is difference of squares. We have seen something like it before. All we do is taking the square root for all the terms that we have here. So the square root of 4 is 2, square root of y squared y, and the square root of z is z. And we have another bracket beside it with the same thing, but we have a plus this time. That's all there is to the situations where we have all square numbers subtracting difference of squares. Or we're factorizing by grouping, and naturally from the first 2 terms we're taking out what is common. 2a in this case, and 2a cancel 2a from the first term, leaving us with x and leaving us with y. And what's common to the other 2 is minus b, and then b from that leaving us with x minus y. The brackets should be the same, remember? The elements on the outside go in one bracket, and then one of these common brackets, we multiply those. And that's one for another mark. Oh, we have this last question here, right? It's quadratic. And if we remember, we're going to take the coefficients first in order to find AC. So for A, we have 3, B, 10, and C, we have minus 8, and AC is minus 24. We need 2 factors now. When we multiply them, we get 10. When we add them, we get 10. But when we multiply them, we have the AC here. So it's minus 2 and 12. The only possible pair that can give us that result. So minus 2 times 12 is minus 24. But when we add them, we'll end up with 10, the B term. We're going to use these 2 factors now to replace the B term, the 10x, right? So it's 3x squared minus 2x plus 12x minus 8. I normally put the positive number first, right? It really doesn't matter how we order the middle terms, but let's factorize as is. So the common variable is x for the first 2 terms, and canceling x from 3x squared will leave us with 3x, and x from 2x will leave us with 2. On the other side, we have 4 being the common factor, and 4 into 12 goes 3x minus 2, just the same as the first bracket. Elements on the outside, one bracket, and use back one of the other common brackets for our 2 marks. And naturally, you have the question to practice without looking at the answers. And that's 5. algebra questions. As you can see, many of the concepts are just repeating themselves. Please ensure that you have good practice on them and remember the concepts, because somehow in your exam, you will be seeing these concepts again. All right, so we have completed algebra, and we're looking forward to seeing you for question 3. So we have completed 5 question 1, 5 question 2s, and then we're looking for 3 next. Until then, see you next time.